Okay. Hello, my name is Kathleen Mullen. I'm the Festival Director of the Seattle Queer Film Festival, and we're absolutely thrilled to have this group of people here in front of you to talk about Equal. So we're really excited to have our host, Jenni Olsen, here today, and she will be moderating the panel, and I will be exiting the room. But until then, I want to say about Jenni, she's the archival producer and story consultant on Equal, and she's a queer film historian and fan, as she tells me, of the Seattle Queer Film Festival. So thank you so much, and I'm a big fan of Jenni and this series. And of course, I also want to mention just very briefly that Stephen Kijak was the director of our opening night film last year, Sid and Judy. And we're really thrilled to have him with us right now.
He made it. Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, no. I'm just glad that we made it. So thank you very much and enjoy.
Thanks, Kathleen. Welcome, everyone. I want to acknowledge our ASL interpreter, Meri. Thanks so much for helping us out.
Meri.
And super excited. Welcome, everybody. We have the writer, director, producer, billion other things of Equal, Stephen Kijak. Stephen.
Hello.
Hi. And the one of the many stars of episode 1, Cheyenne Jackson. Hi, Cheyenne.
Hello.
Who played Dale Jennings, did an amazing job.
Thank you.
And the fabulous Jay Rodriguez from episode 3 as Jose Sarria, the legendary Jose Sarria. So I'll just ask a couple questions, and then I guess we're going to have some questions coming in from the audience on social media as well. I guess, Stephen, let me just start with you, and then you guys can connect, hop in. Can you talk about, particularly about the casting? I mean, the show, it's so amazing. This, truly star-studded cast.
Star-studded cast, yeah, incredible. I mean, well, we knew, we wanted to just get some of the best and brightest of, gay actors working today to represent some of these historical people. And we just, one of our EPs is Greg Berlanti, and working with his casting people was a dream. I mean, we really didn't have that much trouble rounding up this incredible cast. They just gave us this master list of everybody awesome. And we just went, yes. And, just made it work. I mean, like Jay, for example, but there were some interesting little twists and turns along the way. Jay, I believe you read for somebody quite different.
I was at what I would call a gay celebrity casting call. There were like 50 people from the cinema.
Yeah.
And we all know each other. Cheyenne, we all know each other. And it was the waiting room where we all started taking selfies because we know we are always up for the same projects, but it was literally maybe 40 or 50 of us. And we just all took a group photo. It was actually kind of a great family moment because everyone really wanted this project to be made. And that was kind of beautiful because we don't often see each other. It was people, from indie films, from motion pictures. So yeah, I came in a little late, but it was fun.
It was great because, Jay and I actually know each other from way back. I directed a little tiny bit of Queer Eye, the first go round. Which was produced by Scout, so I believe Michael Williams just made the suggestion, how about,
Well, can I unpack that a little further? Because
yeah.
As a theater boy, I know you knew me from Queer Eye and maybe you knew some theater, but I knew that you were directing. And I was like, geez, I don't know if he's ever seen any of my scripted work and how's that going to happen.
Yeah.
I remember the day I auditioned was the day it was also, the next day we were doing Celebrity Family Feud with Queer Eye. And Dave Collins from Scout, who produces this, said, what were you doing? I said, I'm sorry I'm late to this text exchange, but I was auditioning for an HBO show. He said, which one? I said, Equal. He said, that's my show. And I said, listen, I've never asked for anything residual to that. like, please, could you find me something, please? And I don't, I don't do that, but I feel like at this point, 17 years later from Queer Eye, the resume is good enough, but it was a great opportunity to just be all of us looking around at other queer actors in the same waiting room. That to that magnitude was a great feeling for all of us.
You auditioned with you auditioned with something very butch.
I think
we ended up putting you
in
up. It might have been. It might have
been.
been.
It was the New York. It was the New York storyline, and I did the San Francisco story. Yeah.
Right. We ended up putting you in a frock, and you did an amazing Jose Saria.
As you're known to do, Stephen.
Amazing.
Yeah, which I was fine. It was second nature for me. But,
we're going to come back to that topic. What Cheyenne, would you say anything about your experience with the casting? With the,
sure. I wish I was in that room because, like Jay said, it's always fun to see all of our compadres that we don't see often. No, it was a little different for me. I was actually shooting a movie. I was up in the Catskills. There was a foot of snow on the ground. We were in this cabin, and one of my co-stars was talking about this casting, and he was reading it, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what is this? Why didn't I hear about this? I want to be in this." And he's wonderful and generous and delicious, and he wasn't somebody who was like, I'm not going to tell you. He was like, "Oh, this is what it is," and I read it. The breakdown, and I said, well, surely there's something in it for me. There's going to be so many people spanning all of this time. So I called my manager and said, listen, I heard about this project, and see what you can do. I want to be a part of it in some way. Because I just, like Jay, I just think it was a really important piece to highlight folks that a lot of people didn't know about. And I thought that was really a great hook. I wasn't familiar with Stephen's work yet, but I am now, and I'm a big fan. And so I'm really glad it happened. It worked out.
Yeah. So, well, you were top on our list when we were putting Dale Jennings together. So I'm glad.
Really?
Yeah.
No one told me.
Why it took. Right. It all worked out. That's perfect.
It all worked out. See, that's how it happened for me.
My next question for you, for Cheyenne and Jay, is how much did you know about the characters that you ended up playing? Like, were you familiar with those stories? I think, that clearly is one of the, kind of the mission statement of Equal as a series, I think, is, helping people learn about our history. And
sure.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Zero. I knew absolutely nothing about him, and I just need to be honest, I didn't. And I had vaguely heard about one magazine. I had vaguely heard about the Mattachine Society, and I'd heard the name Harry Hay, but I didn't know how it all came together and what Dale's part in all of this was. So luckily I found a lot of information about him. There was actually recordings of his voice. We had transcripts and not too many photos. I was really interested in the stuff with Bob, I think his boyfriend was. I wanted to see some of that early stuff, but no, I just read and watched as much as I could. And Stephen and I, we had the recordings of him on set, and I just loved the way that it was such a interactive thing with the projections. And I knew it was going to be spliced beautifully with the documentary aspect. So I had a little bit of reservation about doing the reenactments and because we've all seen docuseries where it's just like really bad.
Yeah.
But once I remember one of the first things that Stephen and I did, it was just, I was like, oh, this isn't that. He's catching moments. He's catching visuals. I realized how visual the medium was going to be. So it was just a matter of trying to get in these shoes of this person and live it. So yeah, that was my foray.
Great. Thank you. Jay, you're
yes, I love this. First of all, just listen to Cheyenne talk. It's like we ran in the same circles back in New York days, and we're friends. And it's just like I have this great history with him. And I think in the early 2000s, when that was going down, I can for sure say that my knowledge or exposure in mainstream culture to anything LGBTQ was limited. I just didn't have as much access as I wanted. I'd seen all the cult classics. I had done, in my mind, like enough, queer cinema homework to take on the role of Angel and Red after growing up in a conservative household and not having exposure to anything gay. And through the course of my career, because coming from Broadway but now doing television, I tour a lot with the Cabaret Act, and I did in San Francisco and started working with the Richmond Ermit Aid Foundation, which has a lot of folks from the Imperial Court who are always attend. And the Imperial Court was built by Jose Sarria. And in 1960, when dressing in drag or having female garments was something you could be arrested for, there needed to be 2 male garments minimum. But even then you could still be raided by the police. And even listening to the audio, which is readily available on YouTube, or there's actually several documentaries about Jose and their life and the work, all of a sudden you start to think of I started to think of my own anxiety about how I felt as this Puerto Rican kid from Long Island who was playing a drag queen at 18 in 1997, and my own inner homophobia and the issues I had around using language to stand up for the community in 1997. I felt emboldened and empowered because I was in the show, but I wonder how much stronger my messaging could have been had I known that I was standing on the shoulders of people like Jose. So I'm thinking going into this, I kind of did know a bit about Jose's legacy, but not enough about Jose the person. And thank God there's so much great footage about his life and so much bravery that I found inspiring. One of the biggest things was I spoke with his successor, Empress Nicole, who's his successor at the Imperial Court. And she was sharing all these anecdotal stories, but most importantly, she knew as an actor, what she felt was going to be strongest was for me to embody the essence of Jose. And she left the phone call the night before I shot, and she said, he's going to be with you tomorrow. He's gonna be with you. And Cheyenne, you're like, and it was because you feel the weight of like, this is someone that lived, and people living still know this person and
Sure.
revere his legacy. And I am using the he pronoun correctly because I checked, and I know that Jose performed in the art form of drag and everything, but all close friends and even Jose himself identified he and also sometimes use she, so I'm using that correctly. But it was tricky for me because I knew that this process meant more than me, because I would have loved to have been a little brown boy growing up gay, knowing that my history went so far beyond my comprehension, and to have it documented in a beautiful piece like Equal it's epic.
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. And I've had that sense, for all of the cast, that it had to have felt like a huge responsibility to, embody these people who are our heroes and on whose shoulders we stand. So there's a question that just came up about how long did the pre-shoot research take, and how did you find the fantastic archival video of the times? And I guess Stephen can talk a little bit about.
I will take that. Yeah. Well, when I first got approached to do this, I can't remember when we sat down to talk about it, but there was something like it needed to be on the air in 8 months. Go. You know what I mean? This was supposed to air in June. So that would have been insane. And we barely made it to October. But it was developed. So Scout had already kind of sold the series. They had the 4 episodes and the topics, but what wasn't there was there were some characters missing. We decided there needed to be some redevelopment to kind of make more of an equitable balance of characters, between men and women, trans characters, create more equity within the whole show. There weren't as many African-American stories. I mean, Jenni, we kind of teamed up and bumped heads on this, and that's where Jack Starr comes up in episode 2, more of a male, trans man character who has completely been lost to history. Lorraine Hansberry wasn't in the initial pitch. Jose wasn't in the initial pitch. So we kind of spent some time redeveloping the creative to create a more, balanced palette of stories, even though we're still in a way just kind of scratching the surface of our history. We created something a little more representational. So we were off and running. We had researchers and archival producers going for, probably a good 3-4 months before we actually started shooting. But the research and the digging kind of kept going as we were shooting too. It was crazy. But it was fast. It was really fast. So we had a lot of people helping us dig up and dredge up a lot of information. Each episode had its own little story producer who helped me do a lot of the heavy lifting with the archival research while I wrote scripts. It was crazy fast. And then, archive. I mean, Jenni can speak to a little bit of that. You're Jenni Olsen. We bow to your resourceful knowledge of gay history and where to find pictures of it. A lot of it is representational. Some of it is kind of relative because there aren't really films of these riots and these raids. There's, certain things are in abundance. It's amazing. We have the Reminder Day notices of the pickets with Frank Kameny and Barbara Giddings. We have great audio interviews with some of our characters, and some stuff we had to kind of wing it a little bit and use stuff that kind of felt like the times. And I know no one's seen episode 4, but when you get a chance to see that, it's probably one of my proudest achievements is that most of the archive ends up coming from vintage gay porn of the late 60s and early 70s. You just cut the sex out and you've got documentaries.
You do.
It's kind of amazing. So,
honestly, that's why I used to watch them as well. So.
I know, right? It came from all over the place. Anyway.
That's brilliant. Yes. Yeah. I think, it was amazing, all the archival that we found that we couldn't use too.
I know.
Just, hours of amazing things that we, discovered, the whole archival producing team. And over and over, we kept saying to each other, we need to make a sequel. There needs to be more episodes.
I said that on set because I know Jose, his big legacy is the Imperial Court, which we don't even speak about. And so just the window into 1960 and this piece of movie, but it was so expansive. So when I was on set, I was like, also in season 2,
Exactly, yeah. Well, like all the research too, Doug, revealed these expansive stories. I mean, I remember maybe somebody thought, oh, we're making this quote definitive telling of this history. I was like, actually, it's the reverse. We're really making a primer so that hopefully people can start digging deeper and deeper. I mean, there's literally one article alone about Dale Jennings called, I think I'm going to forget it, something like The Accidental Radical, or it's just this excellent article that kind of finds him in present day and then goes back to his history, his very complicated relationship with Harry Hay, his journey after Mattachine, the whole thing about One Magazine. And it really expands a lot around the issue of that trial that Harry did want to use to shine a light on this issue. But Dale was like, I don't really want to be your poster boy for this, but this might actually change history a little bit. So let's go for it. But it's so much more complicated. Every piece of this, every character, and there are films about a lot of these characters. The Jose Sarria film is, I think, just finished and starting to do the circuit. It might be at the Seattle Queer. I don't even know. It's played like New Fest and Outfest and things like that. So there's a lot more. Yeah. Season 2.
I just want to say something about the archival footage, Jenni. It's so beautiful, and it just evokes such you just immediately feel like you're in that time, that you can't fake that. And when you see these people living their lives, whether it's just a snapshot of a couple of like grainy images from a party or at the beach, and just the women in their suits, I don't know, there's something, I got chills so many times, and the way that it is integrated is just, it's masterful. I want to see more of the archival stuff because
I agree.
It's just people try all the time to recreate that era, and it always looks phony baloney. So
it's hard. That's why we decided to do little tiny brush strokes that were very stylized. So we were kind of telling people, we're not trying to trick you into thinking you're really seeing this period piece. We're creating these really stylized, almost very theatrical moments. That was kind of the idea. And
Which
then to surround it with that great archive.
The West Wing just did that. So they stole your model.
Oh, really?
I just watched it last night, The West Wing.
It's very similar to the style.
They shot at the Orpheum, like on stage at the Orpheum downtown.
Wow!
Isn't that where you shot some of this?
Was it the Orpheum? I can't remember. One of those.
Oh no,
it was one of those.
No, wait.
No, honestly, I can't remember now. It was
an
age ago.
Movie theater downtown LA.
Theater, I feel like it was, but
I think it was the Orpheum. Anyway, that's interesting.
On stage, and with that kind of sense of artifice of we're being theatrical
on purpose.
We did it first.
Yeah.
But that archive. I mean, Jenny, again, like what we did that I don't think a lot of people do is, there's the top line archives you can go to, but we really went with like the historical, like the GLBT Historical Society in San Francisco. What you find is that there are these fabulous collections of home movies that if you get the right one, they just go deep. And it's like these brave gay people really documenting their lives in the, we found films in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And it's just, like we just wove it all together and wrapped it around our show, and it worked beautifully.
Jason Plord is pointing out that the Hal O'Neill footage, which was Hal O'Neill's home movies.
Yep.
I think, Cheyenne, when you were referencing that, a lot of what you're mentioning is that amazing footage, which there's really actually hours of it.
So much.
His boyfriend and their friend group, and it is like just chilling or goosebumps to be like, oh my God, they were totally gay in the 1940s.
Right. And that's the stuff, just the details, the minutia of real life. That's what we all, in period pieces, you just want to see what actually, we romanticize what different periods were. But there was something about this, I think, just being a queer person, it just, I don't know, it hit me in my guts, those visuals.
And also the language I found, because Jose had a very specific, like sort of almost a mid-Atlantic accent. There's this to his voice. And when I heard it the first time, I was like, oh God, because I didn't audition for this role. And so when I got the part, I think I had like 2 weeks prior. And I remember being stressed because I wanted to try to match the voice. It's not like something that you guys were like, you need to sound like him, but I knew that was such a big part of what people remembered about him. And thank God, being a singer, you can kind of figure out where to place things. But that was one of the biggest pieces, was making sure that, because Jose Sarria has this kind of like, he kind of talks like this, and when the way this is, everything is in here, and you're like, okay, this is good. I'm gonna make this work, and then it's amazing because you feel this kind of connection to the person. I think even just the 1960s style of drag, I'll call it, or cabaret art. Sometimes Jose would wear a wig, or sometimes just her natural hair, just kind of just play it up, and it was such an interesting window in, because drag has evolved so much since its inception, that the way we view it now is so wildly different than the sort of political and kind of raw, just in your face, smart, unafraid of like alienating the listener, honest truth that Jose was sharing at live shows.
I have to say the most moving thing of the whole series to me is that sequence with Jose and the footage, the archival from which is from Word Is Out, the 1977 documentary with the interview with
George Mendenhall.
When he talks about Jose singing "God Bless Us, Nelly Queens," and which just kills me every time.
And I love how many
See
people are
this.
still with
Can't wait
us
to see
that
this.
know that and will bring that up. Like they know that song. It's a, I don't even know like how to like relate it back to like our New York City running around days, Cheyenne, but like it's like, you know, it's like the thing, whatever we used to do, whether it was go to like Excel at a certain night, whatever. Jose was like one of those people who like had a night that you had to be at. And it was like to find that out from people that are still living and then have them, I already knew, you know, I'd already researched it, but having them be like, and then he'd sing this song at the end of that and we'd all get up and we'd hold hands and you're like all of a sudden transported back to this time and you're like, why didn't I ever know about this? And so I'm so thankful that we can now, you know, fuel this next generation with a sense of greater pride than they already have and know.
Yeah, well, I think it's only now that like a feature documentary is being made about Jose. I mean,
right.
it's incredible. Like that it's taken this long to crack this history and to continue to like get the word out there. But word is out is a real interesting thing because that's another aspect of the archival work we did. Is we talk about us as gay people standing on the shoulders of all these people who came before us, but this series is standing on some pretty formidable shoulders with itself because we did rely on some great documentary work to inform our research and to actually amplify our archival holdings. You know, I mean, word is out in and of itself is one of the greats, of gay documentary filmmaking, 1977. It's just straight up interviews with gay people, the simplest thing in the world. And they'd occasionally cut away to like lesbians cutting a tree down or a gay men's like chorus doing something campy. But it's almost strictly just interviews. And we intended to use a lot more than we ended up using, but just those few little pieces, we knew we had to use George because it was the most passionate connection to someone who had been influenced by Jose. It really is. It's really quite emotional. And the film, it is getting a reissue soon, right? Like people will be able to see it again. Right? Word is out, right?
Yeah, Word is Out is widely available on the digital platforms. And, and is an absolute must see. So we have two questions in the question field. Well, one I'll just say. So one is, when does Equal air again? And so it's going to be on HBO Max starting October 22nd. Correct, Stephen?
Correct.
And then a question, whose idea was Equal?
It came from the minds of Scout Productions, the creators of Queer Eye, Legendary, and other such great things. So yeah, the team there developed it. That was their idea. I think Joel Chiotti, we'll give him the shout out at Scout, had visited the One Archive and had his mind blown and had never been there before. And, the One Archive is here in Los Angeles. It's one of the biggest queer archives in the United States. Jenny, you probably know, is it in the world? Or it's pretty significant. And it just gave them the idea to like dig into the materials kind of locked away at one and start figuring out how do we turn this into a series. Again, it could be 25 episodes, 8 seasons. There's just so much story the more you dig, but they were the catalyst, and then Scout developed it.
Can I just say something really quickly? Because Cheyenne touched on this in the beginning. It's like, this project does have a lot of huge, massive stars, Cheyenne being one of them, who wanted to be in it. And so often we hear, if you're pitching a show, specifically if it happens to be about LGBTQ plus issues, like, well, how are we going to get those people? I would just like to let it be known that we are very happy to do projects like this. And we, you saw the lineup. Like, I'm, a gig worker. I bounce around. I'm the guest star murdering someone one week and then marrying someone the next. But then we also get people of the caliber like Cheyenne, who you see in everything. And we want to tell these stories. And it's so hard sometimes to get our stories on mainstream, and we've even done this beautifully. It's like, I don't know what the holdup is. I think this is great education to our straight allies to understand that the LGBTQ plus movement didn't begin with Drag Race. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff for young people. Like, they don't know exactly the whole history. And when you have people that folks look up to, You know, it's a beautiful thing because that's their latch into the kind of world in which they'll discover all this stuff, which, you know, I think it's beautiful. But I'm just saying we're here for it and we want to do more.
Thank you. I love that you said that.
Same.
So we're heading toward wrapping up here. It looks like we have one. Let's finish up with this last question. Briefly, what are Cheyenne's and Jay's next projects, and how has quarantine affected their work?
You want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So I shot this literally the weekend before, like the weekend of quarantine shutting down the world. So I knew they were like, we know you start Monday, but can you just bang all these scenes out on Saturday? And so we did. And so everything's been on pause. But you know, I did get to host the Daytime Emmys this summer, which was lovely. Odd. You walk in by yourself, you're to mic yourself, and you're just in the studio with an earwig, and you're just hearing the voice of God and hosting the Emmys. But you know, it's tricky. Everything has been on pause, and like I said, I'm thankful to, you know, a couple times a year pop on TV screens. But most of the time, I'm a gig worker. I'm jumping from cabaret tours to hosting nightlife to doing public speaking, and all those are about crowds. So thankfully, I built this kind of Facebook virtual community, and I'm live every single day on my verified page at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and, you know, just kind of been connecting with folks that way and sharing, you know, music and stories, and developed this great global community. I saw Divinity was one of the people from my group who came and support us tonight. But that's how I'm making my way. But I'm hoping, I've been on a couple auditions, that things will open up a little bit. You know, we just shot a Queer Eye reunion, and it was very safe, and we had a COVID enforcer and frequent testing. So I'm optimistic that more productions will. You know,
My computer's gonna die.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
I think we're. Oh, bye, Stephen.
I was like,
I think we are.
My computer's gonna die.
I think we're inching back into production. I was right before this. I'm in the new season of the new reboot of Saved by the Bell. I play Elizabeth Berkley's husband.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so awesome.
It's very fun. So we did that. And then I'm in this show called Julie and the Phantoms, which is on Netflix. It's a family musical extravaganza that's available now. And then my big project right now that we just started back on the lot about 3 weeks ago is called Call Me Kat. And it's a series on Fox, and it's based on a BBC comedy called Miranda, and Mayim Bialik plays the lead, and she is so extraordinary, and she and I play opposite each other. Swoozie Kurtz is her mom. Leslie Jordan is in it.
Cool.
It's pretty amazing. Kyla Pratt, Julian Gant. It's incredible people.
Gay man's dream. I'm dying.
It's pretty amazing. And the writing is spectacular. And also the thing I love about it is just that it's pure joy. And that's what I want to put out in the world right now. It's what we need. And it feels good to laugh. It's super weird to shoot right now because everybody is in full, you know, we don't take our masks off right until action. And it's definitely an adjustment, but I'm grateful to be working and to be telling stories and just to be a part of this community. So, yeah.
Well, we're really grateful that you're part of Equal, and I'm super excited for October 22nd for everyone to get to see all 4 episodes. There was one question I'll just say. So someone asked about, is there a plan to get this programmed into schools and colleges? And I don't think there's a specific plan for that. Although I guess Stephen, why don't you answer that? Sorry.
No idea. It's a very good idea. We should talk to HBO Max about that right away.
Make it happen. Don't worry.
Make it happen. Yep.
No power.
But yeah, we should wrap things up. And yes, thank you, HBO Max, and all of our guests. And everyone tune in October 22nd to HBO Max.
Please.
And Stephen, any final words?
Nope, that's it. I just want to thank our awesome cast. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you, Jenny.
All right.
Thanks, Meri. Thank you, Meri. Thank you.
Thank you,
And Meri,
guys.
thank you.
All right. Thanks,
I love
Jen.
you, Cheyenne.
Thank
See
you.
Okay,
I'm
bye,
excited to
honey.
see your episode, Jay.
I know. I can't wait to see yours. It's
That's
so
gonna be
weird.
really fun.
We go way back, guys. Anyway, okay.
Yeah,
bye.
it's way back.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.